Well, today I think I'm going to continue the workshop with some enemy work, some actions for the enemy, and we will see how it goes, okay? At the end of the previous video, I added a part that we really didn't cover during the workshop, and is how to change the lives. So I added a label for the lives. I created a global variable that also stores the number of lives that we have, in this case 4. And then I added this event that checks the collision between the hero and the enemy. When that happens, we're subtracting the lives and updating the label to be able to see that. So almost all that is a copy of what we did with the score during the workshop, and is just to add a global variable with the right click, and then to add an event that is updating what we have here. So let's check it. So every single time now that the enemy touches my hero, I decrease the life. So that's good. But what happens then when we reach 0? In this case, even I was touched so many times by the enemies that the lives went to negative. We should be able to detect when we get to a game over condition, that is, that the lives are 0 or even less than 0. So that's what I'm going to add here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to add a big label. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a text, and I'm going to say game over. I'm going to make it much bigger than this. Oh, well, okay, I can make it red, and I can change the font that you have here and make it much bigger than that. So I don't know, 48. Now it's not visible because it's so big that it does not appear there. So I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to put it basically in the middle of the screen, and in the UI is fine, in the UI layer. Now, of course, if I leave it at that, it's going to be visible from the beginning. That's not what I want. I'm just going to make it invisible here on the properties on the left side. So invisible. And what I'm going to do is add an event that is going to detect when the lives come to 0, and then I'm going to make this label, this text, visible, and stop the game. So I'm going to add event, I'm going to say system, compare variable, and then when lives, I could leave it at equal to 0, but I know by experience that it's better to say less or equal. Why? Because what happens if I'm able to touch 2 enemies at the same time when my life is 1? Then it means that the value of lives can go all the way down to -1. And then if I don't say less or equal, it's never going to happen. So I'm going to say it like that. The first thing that I'm going to do is this text that I'm going to rename to game over label. Game over label. I'm going to make it visible. So in this event, I'm going to add an action. Game over label. Set visible. So visible. Set visible. And visible. So let's test that. Move here. 3, 2, 1, and then 0. Game over. So that works perfectly. Now, if you saw it, the game continues, even if my lives, well, even continued like that. So I should stop it. I should stop the entire game and say, like, you cannot play anymore. So to do that, I'm going to add another action, and then I'm going to say system, and I'm going to look for time, set time scale, and I'm going to put it to 0. So here you have the instructions. Sometimes you should pay attention to what constructor is telling you. And in this case, the normal time scale is 1, so it's going at normal speed. If you want half the speed, if you want to slow the entire game down, you just go to 0.5, like double speed, 2. And 0 is pause, so that's what we're doing. We're kind of like adding a pause. So let's try it. So 2, 1, game over. And that works okay. Now, we have a little bit of a problem here, and is that once we pause the game like this, we don't have any other way to restart the game. So what I'm going to add is another text. I'm going to add it here in the corner. And I'm going to call it restart. So text. And I'm going to say restart. Make it red. In restart label. So it's going to be, to make it like this. And this is just to kind of make it look nice, but you don't really have to do that. Just to make it restart. Now what I'm going to do is to detect when I click on that or when I touch that. So that's kind of like a new thing. All the time what we have been doing has to do with the mouse, but we are not detecting like, no, I'm lying, with the keyboard, but we're not detecting what happens with the mouse or with the touch screen, if we are using a touch screen or in a phone or a computer that has, or a tablet. So I'm going to add something back here. I'm going to go and double click, just how we were going to add sprite. But then I'm going to add touch. I'm actually going to show you. Where is it? Touch. So these are all the inputs that you can add. So we already kind of have the keyboard, but in the meantime I'm going to leave it there. We can add just the mouse and the touch, but well, also you can use a gamepad if you have a game controller that you can connect to your computer. But really the one that I'm going to use is touch. Why? Because with touch we can cover touch screens, but at the same time we can cover mouse. In this one they made it in a certain way that you just have to write it once. So I'm going to add touch. If everything goes okay, you should be able to see it here in your projects at almost at the end. Okay, so touch. Now what I can do is add an event, and I'm going to say touch on touch object. So I'm back on touch object. And which object in this case? I'm going to look for the restart label. Done. So that means that whenever I touch or click on the restart label, so that's important, also I can click on it, and that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to restart the entire level. So if I get stuck on the pause, then I should be able to restart the game. So I'm going to add the action, system, and in this case I'm going to say, well, I'm going to lie. I'm going to copy this one, so you can select this one. I'm going to say Control Z, Control C, Control B, but then I don't need it to timescale 0. I can do it 1. So that's normal speed. That's the first thing. But this is not going to work perfectly. I'm going to show you right now why. So 2, 3, 0 lives. Okay, so now if I touch this one, restart, it tries, and I'm clicking here several times, it tries to restart the game, to make it move smoothly, but still it goes back to pause. Why is that? That is because we still have lives in 0. And if you remember, this other condition, this other event that we have here is pausing. So whenever I touch, it sets the normal speed of the game, but then this one still checks that the lives are 0, and then we're getting back to the same condition, so to pause. So to fix this event, what I'm going to do is to restart the entire level. I'm going to restart the entire layout. That's almost like saying, well, restart. So that's going to set the lives again at 4, that's going to set the score again to 0, and I'm going to go back to the beginning of the level. So I'm going to say system, restart, restart layout. That's the one that I want. Done. So let's try it again. So 1, 0, game over. I'm going to say restart. And, oh, okay, so interesting. It restarted, it put the position here, but it didn't get the entire thing of the set time scale layout. So I'm going to put it here at the end. I'm going to try it again. Then I'm going to say restart, and it's still not doing it. Okay, so to be able to fix that, I have to set one more thing. So to be able to put this one, and it's basically to say whenever I start the layout, that is what we are going to do here, I'm also going to put the time scale in 1. So it's trying to do both things at the same time, and it's not working. So I'm going to say add event system on start, just to start on the start of layout, and I'm going to move this one here. So basically every single time that I restart the level is going to set the time scale to 1. So let's hope that this works. And then restart, and it's not doing it. Okay, I had to kind of like check it offline, and really the problem is that the lives are not going to be again at 4. So what happens is that if we run it, it still says that the lives are at 4, but it's just because we put it here hard-coded. So it gives you the impression that it's restarting everything, but that's not the case. So to do that, what I'm going to also say here in this action is system, and then reset global variables. So that means that lives go back to 4 and a score goes back to 0. So let's hope that this time works. Okay, game over, start, and now the lives are again back at 4, and we should be able to start the game whenever we want. There. So these two events are kind of like complementary to be able to do both things. So this first one, the only thing that is doing is detecting that I'm touching the restart that we have here in the corner. And then we have to do two things. First, to restart the global variables so we don't get stuck with this event here that is checking for the number of lives, and then to restart the layout. And then when we restart the layout, we should be able to do this. Actually, I'm kind of curious if I just disable this one, if it's going to work. I think the entire problem was the restart the variables. So no, we have to do it. So okay, so it was a good combination. I did it correctly. So toggle disable. Okay, so what else can we do? The other thing that that I'm going to do in this video is to create another level, and it's going to be a really simple thing to do. So go back here, and if you check on the right pane, we have layout 1. That's basically our level, right? So everything that we have here. But what happens if I want to make another level that is kind of like the same thing, and that the rules that we have here apply the same? To do that, I just can go here to layout 1. I'm going to say duplicate, and it's going to be named layout 2. Okay. Now if I open that one, it looks exactly the same as layout 1, but I can modify it. Okay. So just to show you that I'm not lying, I'm going to start that level differently. I'm going to start kind of like here at the bottom, and I'm going to make a small, kind of like, well, that one kind of works. Sorry, kind of like a small stair here, and then I'm going to be able to move upwards, something like that, and I still see my enemies. And the other thing that I'm going to do on the first level is that I'm going to add a small door. And just to make it simple for me to test, I'm going to add it over here. And I'm going to say, whenever I touch that door, I'm going to go to the second level. So I'm going to add another sprite that it's going to be a green door, something like that, and then something here, supposedly it's a door, so this is the handle or whatever. You just can make it any shape that you want. Hopefully you draw something more interesting than that. And I'm going to put it over here, and this one is not going to be in the UI but on the game. And I'm going to add an event that says sprite, let's say when the hero on collision with another object, that is going to be this new green thing, I'm going to go to the other level. This one I'm going to say system, go to layout, and you have the option here of picking which one. So in this case it's going to be layout 2. So this is going to work only for level 1, but is basically the same idea if we want to move between levels. So let's try it. So I'm here and I jump, and now I'm in what would be the second level. That I'm kind of stuck because this don't let me go through, but you kind of like get the idea. So with this you should be able to kind of like create different levels. You can create them from scratch. The only thing that you have to be careful is that they share the same events. If you are going to put in this logic here, if you want the second level to work exactly the same as the first one, then you have to make certain that they share the same event. So the same events. So let me show you. When you select the layout 2, it tells you that the event sheet that they have is this one, number 1. You can create as many event sheets that as you want. You just have to make certain that you are calling the ones that you want at any given time. In this case, the levels, they have the same logic, so I didn't want to make it too complicated. And let me see. So they should work just the same. Let me see if I move the level here. And I'm not able to reach that one. Okay, well, I still have to work on how to make this level more presentable. This video was much shorter than some of the other ones, but I think we were showing several things that are kind of like interesting that you could do with your game. In the following session, quite likely we're going to be together, and I'm going to ask you what do you want to add to the game. Quite likely I'm going to make a version that looks a little better than this one, and I'm going to give you some assets to make your game look much cooler than what you have done so far. Please contact me if you have any questions and suggestions, and we'll see.